Welcome back to Studio Chatter. From a young age, we are told to tough it out, to not worry about it. But at some point, there needs to be a pressure release. Our next guest has a great way of dealing with the emotional baggage in our lives. Please welcome Lyndsey Sickle, the creator of the Black Book, to the table.
Hi, Lyndsey.
Welcome.
We're super excited to have you here. Because we have no idea really what you do, so we want to like dive in with so many questions.
This intrigues me because I love black, but this is just beautiful.
Black and gold. You're
black
like,
and gold,
what do I need to do with
I
this?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about you first,
like even a little grungy looking, because the process is, well, it came about because I've dealt with so much depression and anxiety, and I think like a lot of us, especially here, I just pushed it away as much as I could. Like anytime I could not think about it or act like things were fine, you know, I would push and push and push it away. And then one day I was writing in my nice leather journal. And I think here, especially, we think, oh, if we're writing in our journal, we should be writing like beautiful things for our future.
For posterity to read and know that I always had good thoughts.
Yes,
I know.
That's how I think. Okay.
Yeah, by here, do you mean culture that we live in?
Culture, because we talk about genealogy. Do other people talk about that a lot? I don't know.
A little bit, but us, I think especially.
Yeah, well, I think there's definitely a bubble or a culture or an expectation for certain.
And you want to keep things positive, and there's nothing wrong with being positive. But that day, all the positivity had kind of built up. And I could feel the heaviness of what I wasn't writing, because I was writing the day-to-day details of life. And I don't know what happened, but that day I told myself, I was like, I'm just gonna rip a page out of my nice journal and I'm gonna write whatever I wanna say. Ooh. And that is so unlike me, because I always wanted to put on the happy face and do everything right. And it felt so like scandalous. I even like tiptoed.
I need to burn this before anyone sees it.
Before I even wrote, I like tiptoed over to my bedroom door and I peeked out to make sure the kids weren't watching or something, you know? I love this. And I like locked my door, and then I just started writing all the things that came to my mind. And I remember almost thinking like, who is feeling this? This is so weird. Like, I don't feel this, but I knew I did. Like, things where you're like, oh, I should have moved past this, or I'm not mad at this person anymore, you know.
It is interesting when we have those thoughts and you're like, I thought I was
But I'm not that kind of a person,
do.
but yet I think this is probably what it's about, but processing it.
It's totally
putting it in a place.
And in my mind, when I used to think of processing, I think, oh, that's probably like like how many, like 50 counseling sessions of all
like
this money,
therapy.
and we're gonna go like, we're gonna have therapy and we're gonna process. And so I didn't know what I was gonna get from this. I just knew like I could feel all the weight of it. So when I wrote that day, I don't remember what, honestly, but I finished writing and I like shredded it all in teeny pieces. And I was like, I don't know why. And then I took it out to like the outside garbage and I threw it all in. And I just like walked away and I was like, this was weird. I remember thinking. And I just kind of went about my day. But then a couple days later, you know the feeling when you're like, you're getting the kids ready for school, or you're just like running about your day and everything is so busy and you're hungry and you're eating and you're like, I need to run here and there and here. But yet you're feeling this stuff going on in the background, but you're like, I don't have time to stop and look at that or stop and think of that. Like, who has time? And plus it's negative. I don't want to think about negative stuff. But when I felt that again, I like found myself reaching for my journal again. And I ended up shredding through like most of that journal. And I bought more, and I switched over to cheap notebooks because I was addicted. Like, I just started writing and writing.
You're throwing this paper away afterwards.
I'm throwing it all away. I'm shredding it up. And I guess I never expected it, but what my body really needed was just to stop hiding from it and just to finally, like the feeling that went on in my mind was just like, finally, thank you. Like, thank you for finally just waving at it. And
for releasing it. Like, just give it a voice, but then releasing it? Is that what it feels like?
It was honestly just, like, I couldn't have held on to it if I wanted to anymore, because my mind just so bad wanted me to just wave and see it, and then it could just let go and move on.
This brings up an interesting point, because I was talking to him about, like, when I have bad feelings or thoughts or whatever, I'm afraid to vocalize them or maybe even write them down, because I feel like then I'm attracting more bad.
That's a good point.
So, like, writing it down, are you saying, like, could maybe things get worse, or you're focusing on that,
Yeah.
or, you know, that was always a worry to me, that if I focus on it, then I'm bringing more.
I've had so many people ask that, and I did a survey right when the Black Book came out, and that was the most common thing people said. They're like, what if I'm making it worse, and what if I'm just focusing on the negative? You know, and it can feel scary, and it can feel that way. But I feel like our mind and our body already know what's going on, and so no matter how much we try to think, like I think there's almost like an award that we feel like we'll get if we can just push through. Just one more thing.
That's an interesting thought, but true. Like if I make it through, then I'm kind of Superwoman or something.
Like we're trying to prove it to ourselves, to everyone, and like just do one more thing and then bring like a cupcake into the school, and then but we're just like, you know, we're kind of drowning in it. And so I feel like there's like, since our mind and body already knows, you can't hide from it anyway. So I think just to say it can be there. And
so it can bring more positive, is what you're saying, and release, than bringing more negativity to your plate. It's actually like letting it go.
It's just kind of shining a light on what's already there. And I think the tension comes from the fighting it. Do you guys, have you felt that when you guys are when you're trying to fight something and you're like, it's always the shouldn't word. Like it shouldn't be like this. I wish things were better, or I wish I wasn't mad. That's where I think that tension, and I think it's the problem with things where like the adversary or the negativeness can really thrive. Because if you're fine with it, then where's the problem going to come in?
And then not addressing it and saying, hey, this does make me mad. And it's okay to be mad.
I really think it's that hiding that kind of creates that feeling of tension. When you're okay with it,
it's true. It's like when you fight with a family member or something, that build up, you're so mad at that child or whatever, and when you finally get it out there, like then change can happen.
Yes, because I think it's that acknowledging again, because you're not hiding from it anymore, you're waving at it.
So what are the steps involved in shred writing?
Little book?
So what's worked for me really well is, first, we all have to just even acknowledge that we do have a dark side.
Okay.
And you acknowledge it by writing. And there's a lot of prompts in here. A lot of people say, well, I don't know what to write.
Right, that was my next question. Do you just write?
Well, so there's some prompts, but for me, I feel like 9 times out of 10, I'll say like, what do I feel like I shouldn't be feeling right now, or I shouldn't say? For me, there's always something I feel like I shouldn't say.
I have several right now.
I know. And how is it if you can actually, like, imagine having a place where you can actually say, like, this person, I shouldn't be mad at them, but I still am. And can you believe they did this? Or why did it happen this way? Because those are the things that we say, no, I'm over that. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. But can you imagine how good your body feels to just say, no, like that sucked and we were there and it was hard.
Right. Yeah.
Like right here, there's a prompt that says, what do I feel like I should be doing that isn't really what I want to do? So a lot of those, this was just a
good one.
If I could get away with it, I would say.
Oh yeah, that's what. I feel like my dark side comes out all the time in these.
So with this one specifically, read it again.
What do I feel like I should be doing that isn't what I really want to do?
Because I would dare say most people at least have one thing.
Right.
At least. I know I was asked to be on a board a couple years back, and I'm like, oh, very intriguing. I don't know why they would have called me. I was on it, and every time it got close to me going, I was mad. Like, I don't even want to do this. This isn't, I have no expertise in this field. Like, angry, and I'd get the email, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to be on this board. And I totally chickened out. I didn't even dare call the group, and I'm just like, this isn't working out, bye. But then I was just like, oh, I feel so much better. Like, we can't spend time doing things that
life is very short. We need to be like more present in our decisions.
I mean, and I don't say that lightly, because I think we still need to do things. We all do things we don't want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you get that, like, angry.
But sometimes we look at our places in our life like that, and like, that's not the road that I'm on. That's just my side material I'm doing. But in the meanwhile, that really is our life, and that is controlling it and making you unhappy, even though we don't let it be present.
Let me ask another question, because we won't have a bunch of time to spend so much here. After we get all these feelings out, because you've given us a place now to put it, you used to throw yours away.
So yeah.
So now
you brought it back into the steps, because we just got off on the fun stuff.
Sure did.
So after you acknowledge through writing, then you shred it all, rip it out and shred. And by shredding, you're really acknowledging to your body and your mind that this happened, and you're letting it go. But in a way, what I found is I'm acknowledging and I'm taking the good with me, and I'm almost acknowledging it as a part of me. Not in like I'm taking a negative, but it's you acknowledge what you went through, and then you can kind of let it go as you shred. And then the last step is to breathe. And as you breathe, your body just continues to process. And I don't even like to call it meditating. I like to just sit and breathe for 5 minutes, and everything just kind of does its thing. That's where it wouldn't hold on even if you wanted it to, you know, because your body just knows what to do.
Let it
But
flow
it needs you to actually acknowledge it.
It does, and then
process
it naturally just lets go.
So these are meant to.
Oh yeah, they're just meant to rip out and
Do
shred.
they flush down the toilet easily? That would be another good place.
Yeah, I would probably burn it, because I would be worried that someone would then piece it back together. Okay, so I really probably.
Oh, you have some ideas. Yeah.
I love this. We should do a burning party.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna have to come back and check in on us.
But before you leave, how can our viewers get this?
So lyndseyv.com.
Okay.
Or lyndseyv_. My name's with an LY.
On Instagram?
On Instagram, yeah. We're talking about a lot of fun things with shredding, and my friends and I even wrote on some plates, and we went and shattered them. And
Ooh! Oh, I love it.
you could put it down the toilet or burn it, or I do have a friend that slowly flushes it down the toilet, because her whole life she was shushed, and so now she's like, someone could piece it together. I'm only gonna flush.
Oh my gosh! Don't tell her.
This is me and my thoughts.
Oh my gosh!
I know.
Oh, Lyndsey, this is really
insightful.
it is.
I really
Very
like
good.
it.
Thanks
Well, you guys
so
have your
simple.
black books now, so
Yes,
you could
we
be
do.
shredding.
Thank you. Well, we're
going to
use them.
Awesome.
For all the things you feel and you cannot say.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
There's more studio chatter coming up.